In the summer of 1807, Napoleon Bonaparte stood at the center of a raft on the Niemen River and shook hands with the Tsar of Russia. He controlled more of Europe than any ruler since Charlemagne. His enemies had surrendered, his borders were secure. He had won. The question nobody asked, and he could not answer, was what comes after winning. After every victory, Napoleon paid his marshals not in money, but in territory. Some became kings, some became princes. These were not gifts, they were salaries. And the salary required the next conquest to fund it. A general who had been given a kingdom expected to keep it. Keeping it required Napoleon to remain dominant. The machine could not idle. It could only run. Napoleon understood this. An emperor who made peace was an emperor who no longer needed an army. An emperor who no longer needed an army could not protect his marshals from the kings who wanted their territories back. Stopping was not retirement. Stopping was collapse. The one enemy Napoleon could not defeat militarily was Britain. His solution was the Continental system, a total blockade of British trade from every European port. The logic was sound. The problem was enforcement. Portugal broke it, Spain broke it, and in 1810, Russia broke it. Because the Tsar could not sustain the economic damage, Alexander simply reopened his ports. If Russia could ignore the Continental system, so could everyone else. And if his marshals watched him fail to enforce his own policy, the system of loyalty that held everything together would crack. Russia was not a strategic opportunity. It was a structural requirement. He assembled 600,000 soldiers and marched east. Not because winning seemed likely, because not marching was worse. On the 14th of September 1812, Napoleon rode into Moscow. The city had been evacuated. No government, no surrender, no population. The Kremlin was empty. Within hours, fires began, set by Russian forces before they left. He had brought 600,000 men to force a decisive engagement. Russia had simply refused to have one. Napoleon waited in Moscow for 35 days. He sent peace proposals to Alexander. No reply came. He reduced his terms, still nothing. He had won every battle of the campaign. He occupied the enemy's historic capital. By every previous logic of European warfare, Alexander should have sued for peace. Alexander did not sue for peace. He waited for winter. On the 19th of October, Napoleon ordered the retreat. Of the 600,000 who had crossed into Russia, fewer than 100,000 returned in a condition to fight. The army that had been the foundation of everything he had built was gone. In October 1813, Napoleon fought the Battle of Leipzig, the largest battle in European history to that point. Over 500,000 soldiers, 4 days of fighting. On the third day, the Saxon troops fighting alongside Napoleon switched sides. In the middle of the battle, they turned their weapons around and began firing at the French. The Saxons did not switch sides because Napoleon was losing. They switched sides because they had calculated that he was going to lose. They were not responding to his defeat, they were causing it by withdrawing the belief that made the system function. Napoleon's system rested on one foundation: the belief that he could not be stopped. Russia had cracked it. Leipzig broke it. And when it broke, every satellite kingdom, every reluctant ally, every marshal calculating his future, collapsed at the same moment. Not because Napoleon had become weak, but because the system had never been able to survive the question of what happened if he lost. Napoleon did not fall because he made a mistake. He fell because the system he built had no stable state. Only expansion or collapse. Every structure that depends on continuous growth faces the same problem. It cannot stop, and it cannot acknowledge that it cannot stop, because acknowledgement is itself the beginning of the end. Napoleon knew this. He marched to Moscow anyway. The question Napoleon could not answer is not unique to empires. Any system that can only survive by growing, that has no stable state, no acceptable version of enough, faces the same problem. It cannot stop, and it cannot acknowledge that it cannot stop. The question is what that looks like from the inside, before the moment it becomes visible from the outside.